Speaking of 420.
It's from the bong.
It's from the bong.
It's from the bong.
Dude.
With that nasally voice, it's from the bong.
Yes.
Oh, shoot. We're recording. Okay.
Oh yeah, maybe I should start talking, huh?
Good idea.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Intermission Edition of Air Candy, aka Season 1.5. I'm your humble host, Colleen, and still at my side is my trusty co-host, Seth.
Still here, y'all.
On today's minisode, we're talking about cannabis. But before we get into that, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the show, please do so wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on any future episodes. If you want to connect with us online, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Air Candy Podcast, and you can also join the Candy Club on Facebook. If you have a question, comment, or episode idea, you can drop us a line on one of the socials or send an email to aircandypodcast@gmail.com, and either Seth or I will get back to you as soon as possible, so hit us up. And if you're feeling generous, please consider supporting the show on buymeacoffee.com. And with all that out of the way, let's get into it.
All right, so what's going on with this Intermission Edition anyway, girl? What's up?
I mean, it's just a mini season because, you know, we got stuff to do in real life and we wanted to kind of take a break from the regular format or whatever and just try some new stuff. So we're doing a little 1.5. And as you would like to say, like a mixed bag of nuts.
Yeah, mix a bag of D's.
We're just going to keep everything, you know, real loosey-goosey and see what happens, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, since you and I are not smokers, why the hell are we even doing this? What are we doing?
Today? I mean, it's April 20th, so what better thing to talk about on April 20th than the ganja?
The devil's lettuce. That devil's lettuce. That's
I mean,
right.
we had to do a quick little show about the weed.
The weed. Oh, man, you know we're old now. We put the word "the" in front of everything. Yeah, guys, we're gonna do a little edutainment. You know how we do it. So yeah, let's break into some stereotypes and stigmas surrounding the
Pot,
devil's
dank,
lettuce.
reefer, herb, flower, nug. Goes
Y'all
on
know?
and on, baby.
All right, so I'm gonna say this. Back in the day, and everybody knows this too. If you were a weed smoker, you were either lazy, you were a vagrant of some sort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A vagrant, a loser, blah, 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 you know, so not so much anymore. Things are really having a big turnaround, you know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I mean, now you got stuff decriminalized, and I think it was Colorado that they first stepped up, or maybe California, it doesn't matter. But ever since that happened, people are really, you know, or states in general are really starting to come around. So I got a little list here, and look, I'm going to tell you straight up, I was surprised.
Surprised by what?
How many states that marijuana is actually decriminalized. I'm just going to read off a couple. This is an alphabetical
Well, first of all,
order.
quick note from that. I mean, it's about damn time that they started decriminalizing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And there's a lot of things we can talk about, but we're not going to get into like the crazy details because I totally agree. I mean, it is about time. I mean, going down to locking up people for no reason. I mean, back in the day when we were younger, if you had like a pipe or something, you would get like a year in jail, like ridiculous stuff. Like,
Yeah, I have a story to share about that at some point if you'd like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I mean, I guess since we're talking about it now, I might as well tell the story real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a little past. It's been expunged because it happened like literally a week after I turned 18.
Oh, I could have sworn you said it was a week ago. I'm like, man, I'm hanging out with criminals.
No, it was a week after my 18th birthday, and there were a bunch of us hanging out in a parking lot, and a passerby, you know, some nosy grown-up at the time, saw a bunch of hoodlum kids loitering in the parking lot, and so they called the police, and whoop, whoop, here comes 5-0 rolling up, and they just start deciding to search all the cars. And I swore that I was like, absolutely, there's nothing in my car. There's absolutely nothing you can find in my car.
Okay.
And so I'm on the side talking to one of these cops, and he's like talking about my pants and my platform shoes. Like, oh, your pants are awesome, your shoes are awesome, and we're having this great conversation. I'm like, yeah, ha ha ha. Suddenly, the cop that was in my car sticks his head out of the car and says, "Lock her up, lock sister up."
Oh Lord.
And I was like, what? Completely taken by surprise, shocked, like, what is happening? And then
Did you
suddenly
forget?
the cop that was like all nice to me, talking about my awesome platform shoes and my awesome bell bottoms, has me thrown around and, hemming me up and putting my putting my wrist in the cuffs. And I was like, what is happening? What had happened was, you
Oh
see,
Lord, here we
what
go.
had happened was I had been letting my friends at the time borrow my car. Don't do this. Don't let friends borrow
Oh
your
Lord,
car at that age. What had happened was my friends that had been
terrible.
borrowing my car were smoking and doing stuff in my car that I didn't know about and putting all of the roaches in my ashtray, which at some point had gotten stuck shut and I had not been able to open it. So it had been a
Oh,
long time.
stinky
So
roaches.
while these cops were searching my car, they ripped the ashtray out, and that's where they found
Roaches.
that were not mine. And of course, what am I going to say? It's not mine. It's your car. I have to take
Yeah.
responsibility for that. But truly, I had no idea it was there. Truly, it was not mine. But I got locked up for that and spent the night in jail.
For some doggone roaches that you didn't even smoke.
Right.
What a waste.
Right? But,
What a waste.
I had to do like the classes and all that stuff and fines and all that jazz that we had to do back in the 90s. And I was lucky enough to, I followed all the rules, did all the tests, and stayed on top of everything, and I got it all expunged. But yeah, man, back in the day,
They
that's
weren't
what I'm
playing.
saying. Like, people nowadays, they don't realize that how easily you could get hemmed up for dumb shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because nowadays they're gonna say, "Oh, you got some roaches in here. All right, whatever. Just dump them out. Get it out of here."
Yeah.
Back then, you were like, "Lock
Right.
sister up."
I mean, lock her up, lock sister up, and I was like, what? Huh? I had no idea. And that's the thing. Even if you were to like take those roaches out and unroll them, there was nothing in there. But it's that thing on the
Still
paper. It had said,
paraphernalia or whatever.
right, exactly. They were said something that smells like marijuana. Like they, the way they write it all in their stuff.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a crazy experience. And basically, what they did among all those people that were there, all the friends or the group of kids that were all hanging out, they arrested 2 people from every car. There were 2 people that just got arrested as like a, what do you call it, as an example.
Oh man, that's beat.
And I was the only one that was 18. So while all the other ones were like on the other side of the jail and all their parents were coming to pick them up, I'm just over there like clanging my cup against the bars, like cling, 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 cling.
Attica, Attica.
Oh my God. I just cannot stress enough. If you're young or whatever, if you got friends that are doing shit that's illegal, just be mindful of having them around you and near your things, because you don't want to get hemmed up in someone else's dumb shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my story.
Oh my goodness. So it looks like about half the states.
Well,
Nevada,
what's
New
more, the
Hampshire,
ones that are criminalized or are decriminalized?
these are the decriminalized. I'm not even worried about the ones that are criminalized.
No, I'm saying
Because,
which list is longer.
the longer list is decriminalized, which I was surprised.
That's good.
Well, because there's 50 states and there's 26, so
There you go. We're just tipping over.
Yeah.
That's good.
it's tipping over. Maryland is on the list of decriminalization. What's up?
Yeah, Maryland.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Most definitely. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man. So, it's good. We are turning around the corner. That's a funny story. I'm sure you have plenty more of those 420 stories. Me,
Oh,
I'm a saint.
jeez.
I never smoked a devil's lettuce in my life.
Okay. Wink. Wink. Big old wink.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Well, since we
So-
were talking about Maryland and stuff, I'm not sure, but I was told by a doctor in Tacoma Park that Maryland has very, very strict growing policies and that it all has to be very organic. I don't know if it's true because I tried to look it up online. I couldn't find anything
I never heard it.
stating what she told to me, but she had given this big old presentation about it, and
Huh.
it was very convincing. And she is a well-known physician in Tacoma Park who specializes in cannabis and whatnot. So, I mean, I feel like I need to trust her. And I like to think that if the stuff being grown in Maryland is following these strict regulations, I mean, I would like to think that that's true.
Me too. But when it comes to these regulations, you put the stuff down, but that how much can you really follow that stuff? So yeah, I mean, if Maryland's trying to be on the forefront of putting the right kind of laws out there and all that, even though we're like crazy strict on other stuff like gun control and a whole bunch of other stuff too, but whatever. I mean, yeah, sure.
So, yeah, I mean, we don't know if the Maryland growing regulations are as strict and stringent as I was led to believe, but I would like to believe that everything's organic and whatnot, because marijuana, cannabis, is in itself a plant that tends to suck up all of the toxins in the areas around it. So when you just buy it off the street or a place that's not regulated and it's growing, there are so many toxins in it.
I imagine. I mean, especially when it comes to how they process stuff to get it ready for cultivation, so to speak. So, you know, personally, I think that the process of growing marijuana in a lot of areas, I still think it's the Wild West, even though there's regulation out there and so on and so forth. I still think it's the Wild West. I still think the whole process, there's the chemicals that they use to grow it are still toxic. I mean, using all kinds of pesticides to make sure other insects don't get to them, just like our food. I still think it is. Yes, it is medicinal, and yes, has all these great properties. Yes, it's being decriminalized, but still, the processes and how it sucks up our resources when it comes to water, when it comes to runoff and all that. That's the tree hugger inside of me, and I still think the whole process, there is an underbelly of marijuana growing that is still there that people still need to realize.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. That's why I'm hoping that what she told me was true, because it is if it's not regulated, then they do have a ton of heavy metals and pesticides and all that stuff in it, and then it would just kind of negate the whole medicinal aspect of it, the true medicinal aspect of it, because if you're ingesting more toxins, I mean, that's
yeah.
just not good.
No, I totally get it. And look, I don't smoke weed now, and I'm not trying to be
I don't either.
Mr. Poo Poo and the whole thing, but look, I just think I'm not an environmentalist, but I'm the one that is kind of woke when it comes to some of these things. And I think when it comes to certain kinds of crops, and now we're talking about marijuana, I still think there's an underbelly there, and people just need to look out for it, make sure they know what they're getting, even though it's so unregulated. You just have to just trust the person at the dispensary, or trust your local dope dealer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You can't really trust that. You don't know where that comes from. But if
But
you're at the dispensary, you can look up the different brands of cannabis and see how they're growing. You can even reach out to them. I mean, a lot of these people are very forthcoming and hospitable when you have questions and whatnot, at least so far.
Yeah,
You've been to a dispensary, yes?
yeah, I went to my first one. It was a couple years ago. I was visiting a friend. I was just going with this person just as a tag along because they needed to get something. And I was like, all right, cool. So
Well, where were you?
I was in Colorado.
Okay.
And of course I'm not going to say any names here, but I went inside and it was an experience that it was like I was in some kind of some retail, like fancy schmancy retail
Mm-hmm.
shop. I walk inside and I showed my ID, and then all of a sudden we're walking out and looking at all these glass pipes and bowls inside the case. I'm like, and it was all like white, and all the lights had like, the trendy music playing and all this stuff. And then some random person said, Spears come right up next. I'm like, oh, they're just calling us out like that? Okay. And so because they took my ID, so I guess they scan it and our name just pops up. And then I walk over and it's like a little bench and some guy, with your stereotypical long hair, and it's like, hey guys, and
Put your weed in here.
yeah, right. But had all kind of little showing all the different things, and all on like these big flat screens up there, and saying you got this and this is where this is indica and sativa, and the whole experience. And so my friend was saying, okay, well, what about this one? The person would say, oh, this is perfect. And he opens up a case and doing all this. I was like, this ain't nothing like I'm used to back in the day. Back in the 90s, it was nothing like this, not even close. It was
No, you
kind of
roll
like,
into the city and you're like, give me a dime bag.
right, exactly. Give me a dime bag. And like you hold out the money, he holds out the weed. He's like, same time, man. Same time, man.
Exactly.
Same time, motherfucker. I don't know you.
Right.
It was that,
So true.
that's how it used to be. And
Uh-huh.
so this experience was like, whoa, this is like a white glove.
Yeah, no, the first time you go to a dispensary, it is magical. My first time was in 2015, also in Colorado, but it was not a dispensary that was real hoity-toity like we see now. Because even just in those handful of years, a lot of things have changed. So we went in, it was still very magical. I was just like, oh my God, there's all these beautiful pieces of flower on display. It was just amazing. Just I don't know. I had a smile from ear to ear just being in there. And I'm not even not a smoker anymore. But it was just exciting. And I did get my card in 2018 in Maryland because of medical conditions that I have. You know, I use topical stuff and edibles, microdosing from time to time. But I do have to say that my very first dispensary in Maryland that I went to was in Columbia at Remedy, which it's a good dispensary. But the first time I went, my guy, who they call them bud tenders, instead of a bartender, they're bud tenders.
Oh, that's corny as hell.
That's what they're called. My
Fail.
bud tender was so high. How high was he?
I missed my cue there.
He was so high that, like, I had legit medical questions to ask, which is what you're supposed to do in a dispensary when you have medical conditions. How is this going to affect this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I had legit questions. And every time I asked him a question, all he said was, he was so high. And all he said was, it'll get you high. And I'm like, this is not the experience I expected right now. This is not what I need right now. So I tried to do my best determination on my own.
Yeah.
And I didn't go back to that dispensary for a very, very long time. But
okay, so now this is what I'm going to say. This is Seth the hater talking. What the hell kind of experience? You think these ain't doctors here? The people that get high and they give you the weed and you get the hell out of there. And
No.
Some people that are going to be there, and then
No.
yeah,
The people that work in dispensaries now, they are trained and they're supposed to know all about a lot of things. Like, you have to have some knowledge about how things are going to affect people with certain medical conditions.
Yeah, I get that, but that's not going to be,
especially the different kinds of, cannabinoids and all those things in the plant. So, like, earlier you mentioned indica and sativa. Nobody talks about that anymore these days because that's like an outdated thing.
I don't know. In my experience, they were talking about all that kind of stuff the way Dude was talking about it. But again, these ain't no doctors. But if you know your stuff, then you know your stuff,
I mean, it can still come up, but it's a pretty outdated thing. Nowadays, everybody just talks about terpenes, which is still something that needs a lot of additional research, but that is what people will talk about and what they will kind of cross-reference when you're trying to figure out what strain will work best for you for what condition and things like that. But
okay.
You have some information about indica and sativa that you wanted to share?
Yeah, for the folks out there that do not know about this, and it's totally fine. There's still a lot that people don't know, but it's in everybody's face. I mean, goodness, I smell weed on the road when I'm driving down 95. Yeah. It's just everybody's just smoking the devil's lettuce everywhere you go. So
yeah, I'm taking a walk in the neighborhood, and it's like, oh yeah, I smell smoke come from that house.
There it is. There
it is.
Puff, there it is. Smoke definitely. So, yeah, so folks that don't know, you have two different kinds, right? And I didn't know a lot about this until I went to the Taj Mahal of this place in Colorado where this dude was talking like, he'd been smoking a long time. So, indica, that is a strain of marijuana. Indica, it's native to Middle East, short and stocky, and it gives you that high feeling, right? Then you got sativa, which is native to Central America and Africa and Southeast Asia. And it's kind of like that mind high, and it kind of gets you moving and motivated. So those are two different kinds. So depending on what you want to do, if you want to relax, you smoke this. If you want to be focused and blah, 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 you smoke that. I just don't believe a lot of this stuff.
No, you should though, because here's how I used to remember it back in the day when all people did talk about was indica or sativa. Indica, you think Inda couch. You're going to be Inda couch. And it's also, if you look at the plant itself, the leaves are short and fat. Inda couch, right? And the sativa, I would say sativa, like arriba, because it's just like more of an upper. Sativa.
Right.
And that's the leaves are long and skinny. So it kind of makes sense. Long, skinny, and active. So that's how I used to remember it back in the day.
And then you have the hybrid too, obviously, with horticulture nowadays. You can definitely have different strains, which is a combination of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which are actually better, in my opinion.
What, the hybrids?
Yeah, I think so, because, in certain strains, you're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I get it.
And then you also, like I said, you have to consider the terpenes. And I don't know if you're familiar with terpenes, but
I'm not.
I have a handful of the most popular, not the most popular, a handful of the most common terpenes found in cannabis. So terpenes in general are organic chemicals of essential oils produced by most plants, and they protect flowers from predators. But in cannabis, they're just like the tasty oils that the cannabis flower will produce. But in general, you can find hundreds of terpenes in nature. So anytime you smell something nice, it's pretty much because it has a terpene.
So I'm going to associate that with turpentine. You would indica, couch, terpenes, turpentine.
And what are you associating it with though? Like what are you learning from saying turpentine? I'm curious.
It stinks.
Oh, that's good. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
like that.
saying. Yeah,
Got
'cause
it. I'm
stinks.
picking up what you're putting down now.
Yeah. So kick some more knowledge. Kick some more knowledge for us.
Well, quick fun fact about terpenes. Natural rubber is made of terpenes, and maple syrup contains about 300 different terpenes, which is why it tastes so yummy. That's a fun fact. But let's get back to the cannabis, to the ganja.
So lettuce.
I'm gonna name off 5 of the most common ones that you'll find, and I'm gonna just say a quick couple things about them. So,
All right.
the one most commonly found in cannabis is called myrcene. It's got an earthy and herbal scent. And other places other than cannabis that you'll find myrcene is in mangoes, lemongrass, and thyme. And myrcene is the terpene that you would want to have in your strain if you're looking for something to help you sleep or relax, muscle relaxation. Like, so if you have insomnia or you have tension, you want something with a higher amount of myrcene in it.
Okay.
Another one is caryophyllene. I hope I'm saying that right.
Okay.
It's got a spicy, musky, and pungent scent, and you can find it in cloves and black pepper, other than when you're looking at cannabis. It has anti-inflammatory effects, and it also helps with pain. Another one.
How is it considered anti-inflammatory where the scent is spicy, musky, pungent?
Well, because
So,
just because it has a scent.
You farting. It's inflammatory.
Well, okay. Well, think about food, right? There are certain foods that you eat that have anti-inflammatory properties, like cumin and what's the one that's orange? The spice that's orange. Turmeric.
Yeah, thank you.
Turmeric. Things like that
I was going to
are
say the other one.
anti-inflammatory. You might not like the smell of it, but it still has anti-inflammatory properties. The same thing goes with any of the terpenes. Just because it has a spicy, musky scent doesn't mean that it's not going to be anti-inflammatory. And this particular terpene has been found to have anti-inflammatory properties and help with pain. So that's another really good one. A third one is called limonene, and it's got, as you may guess, it has a citrusy, floral, herbal scent to it. You can find it in lemon rinds and orange rinds, rosemary, nutmeg, tea tree, cumin, and lilac. And it tends to bring an uplifting effect and also may help with anxiety and depression.
Okay.
Then there's linalool, that is spicy, pungent, and floral. You can find it in lavender, mint, cinnamon, and coriander. It produces a calming effect, sedation, and relaxation. And then the last one I'm going to mention is pinene. And on my notes, I've marked it with red because I've had issues with pinene in the past.
Okay.
It has a very sharp, sweet, and as you may guess, a pine scent, hence the name. It's the most common terpene found in nature. It's found in pine needles, basil, dill, all sorts of places. And it also has an anti-inflammatory effect. It helps with memory retention and alertness. So of all of the terpenes, pinene is the one that kind of gives you that amped up, speedy feeling.
Okay.
And for me, anything with pinene in it, I've tried to avoid it because I've had bad experiences. Because when I have stuff with too much pinene in it, it tends to cause tachycardia, which is an accelerated heart rate, and just a whole bunch of stuff. So, other people that have issues with smoking weed from time to time, like some people don't like that body high, you know what I mean? Some people get uncomfortable in their body when they feel that. That would mean that they're smoking something or ingesting something that has too much myrcene in it, and you would want to get something with a little less of the myrcene, or something with a little more of the limonene to kind of like balance it out. So that's why terpenes are so very important to understand and also to be looking at when you're at a dispensary. And I'm clearly not going over this in an extensive way at all. There's so much more to terpenes and the education behind it and just all the things having to do with it. If you want to look it up, please do. I'll put a link in the show notes to some information to get you started. But if you do partake in cannabis medicinally, I would suggest educating yourself on this stuff. And the next time you go to a dispensary, ask them to tell you some stuff too, because they definitely know about this.
It'll get you high.
or maybe not. So I think now that we've learned a little something, let's talk about some typical stoner shit, man.
All right, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, so
like when you used to smoke weed, man, like did you used to watch movies and listen to music, man?
yeah, I used to listen to. I know I'm trying to do like it's been so long. I don't even know how to act like a stoner anymore. I'm lame. Yeah, I used to listen to. Oh man, we used to listen to a lot of like the Grateful Dead and what's the other one with that triangle with the rainbow going through it?
Pink Floyd.
Yeah, thank you.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, a triangle band with the rainbow.
Lame. I am lame as hell. Yeah, triangle with the rainbow going through it. Yeah.
It's
Listen
funny.
to a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, back in the day when you smoked a lot, I feel like you could put on anything and listen to anything and it was fucking cool. Didn't matter what it was. But there are some typical stoner movies that are just timeless, classic, such as Half Baked. That movie will never get old. It's such a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, I can go on and on about this stuff. Down by the beach, boy.
Fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you. I'm out. There's so much good shit from that movie. If you haven't seen it, what are you waiting for? Go watch it.
If you haven't seen it, just press pause on this and just look it up on the Netflix or something, and then just get back to us, and then you can actually laugh about the whole situation because you need to get it out from underneath of your rock.
Right. I met and hung out with Jim Brewer after that movie. It was funny. He was performing stand-up at the Improv in D.C., and we were just hanging out back and stuff. He's a trip.
What other stuff you used to watch? I used to, music. I mean, definitely listened to a lot of hip-hop, too.
Oh,
It wasn't all like the triangle with the rainbow going through it. It wasn't all that, Outkast, trippy stuff. A lot of trip hop was really good. Like, man, RJD2 was one.
Oh yeah,
he was good with the trip hop. The trip trap.
Stop smoking now.
Trip trap? I know.
Go listen to that little trip trap.
Man, put on some of that trip trap.
Oh boy.
DJ Shadow was another really good one.
Oh,
to
yes.
listen to. I mean, that's
Yes,
a really good
yes.
one. So those are the things I used to listen to.
Like I said, if you're smoking, anything can become pretty much the best thing ever.
Yeah. Do you hear what he's saying, man? Do you hear what he's saying?
There's such deep meaning to these lyrics.
I want to get high, so high.
Oh my gosh. That was a good concert, by the way, Cypress Hill, back in the day.
I've never seen them.
I saw them with Rage Against the Machine when Rage had first come out. And they were
come out the closet?
opening. They were opening for Rage Against the Machine was opening for Cypress Hill.
Cool.
It was awesome. It was like in 1994. It was awesome.
Oh man. So funny story. I was talking to my friend a while ago, and he actually said that when Rage Against the Machine came out, when they were really, really new, they actually played at that place in Glen Burnie, Maryland.
That's where I saw them. That was that show that I saw
Michael's
them.
on 5th
Michael's
or whatever.
8th.
Yeah, Michael's
8th Avenue. It was Rage Against the Machine, Funk Dubious. I believe it was also 7 Year Bitch. So all these three bands were opening up for Cypress Hill, and it was incredible. And best believe there was like so much pot smoke in the air. It was crazy. At some point, like you know, when Be Real and everybody was up on stage performing, they were passing around probably the biggest joint I've ever seen in my entire life. It was just hysterical. But yeah, that was awesome.
So to put it in perspective for you listeners about this venue that I've been to, but I was not going to shows back then. I mean, I saw Outkast and some other, but not at this particular venue. So if you ever gone to a bull and oyster roast, and they're typically at these VFW type places.
Yes.
So this place in Glen Burnie, Maryland, is called Michael's on something, right? So they have a couple
8th
of them.
Avenue.
Yeah, Michael's 8th Avenue, which was actually where I think I had my prom was there too. I think it was at that one. Anyway, so it's a really small venue. And then if you ever been to a bull and oyster roaster, you get your 50-50 tickets and you do this and there's a buffet and you pay like $50 to get in there. I mean, it's not a very big place at all. So think about these iconic bands that were at this little tiny place and no one knew who the hell they were.
Right.
And Colleen was there getting
I was
high.
there. I was there. And I was like the only chick in the mosh pit up front. It was so funny.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, but you're absolutely right. It is like a little VFW place. Or you could also compare it to like a school cafeteria. It's just like that same vibe inside.
Basically, it's the same. Yeah, I got that.
With like the stage.
Those tile
like the
floors with that
right.
tiny stage where they, you know, it's basically just imagine a stage.
At your high school.
At your high school, or if you're watching the end of Napoleon Dynamite, that stage right
exactly.
there. It's like,
that's exactly it with the red curtains on the side.
Right.
That's exactly it.
So imagine seeing Rage Against the Machine in Cypress Hill in some tiny little place that smells like mildew.
I know.
It smells like mildew and bad velvet curtains.
And BO.
Right. So,
oh my gosh. That was a time, man. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I was there.
Yeah. Do you remember the craziest thing you ate when you had the munchies?
No. One thing I'm famous for, though.
Okay.
I'm famous for making these things called poor man's pots. So
I used to make high man food. You had poor man pots, and I made high man food.
Right. It's basically the same thing. Same thing. So for you listeners out there, I'm sure, whether you guys want to admit it or not, probably y'all smoked weed at least once in your life. And if you haven't, you're not really missing out on too much. But anyway.
No, you're not.
So
we're retelling stories of our childhood, really. So it's like lifetime ago.
Yeah, like weed is not life, but for some people it is. But one of the crazy things I used to do when we used to get high, and then I used to just cook. Now I love to cook now, and that's what I used to do. I just always used to make these poor man's pots, and they would just say, "Seth, make one of your poor man's pots." And that's just basically just goulash. I just find whatever's in the thing, cans, whatever. And then when you're young, you know, you got these. No one's really eating quinoa and kale. Like I'm not making gourmet dinners here. I mean, it's like, okay, I got a can of beans, I got some macaroni and cheese, I got some old sausages, some Jimmy Dean sausages. Right. And next you know, 30 minutes later, we're all eating out of bowls. No one's talking.
Delicious.
We got Pink Floyd playing in the background.
Yeah.
And everybody's all quiet. Now we hear this macaroni sounds.
Ew, no macaroni time. That's the worst.
So anyway, your turn.
Well, I also made high man food. Same concept, just kind of throw stuff together. My most famous high man food dish was with ground beef, tater tots, cheese, and cream of mushroom soup. Mix it all together and then layer the tater tots up on top and then the cheese on top of that and bake that bad boy. And
man.
That was a hit. That was a hit.
Okay.
So
I would
good.
eat that now. And I haven't.
I would not because it is very bad for you. For me,
you'd probably
at least.
Explode like you with your issues.
With all my health conditions, I would just like take one bite and be like, she gone.
Yes,
she did. I just like slouch over in the chair.
You just
what happened?
Off.
It was the hot man food.
It killed her ass.
But I do have another funny story about eating things when high, and I will call this the peanut incident of 1997.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So I was high. It was the 90s. And I was laying on the couch and I had the munchies. So I had a can of peanuts, like a tin can with the lid, the plastic lid that comes off and on.
Yeah,
And
planters or whatever else you want to call
right.
them. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I had it on the floor next to me so I could reach it while I laid on the couch and watched TV or whatever. So I'm just kind of like reaching down, putting peanuts in my mouth, reaching back down, getting peanuts, putting peanuts in my mouth. And
Oh
at some
boy.
point after I'm eating the peanuts, I start to feel something like moving.
Oh
There's
God.
something moving.
Where?
And I
Like
started
in the?
feeling like there was things like on me crawling. And I looked down, Seth.
Oh my God.
There are little tiny ants all over my hand and in that tin of peanuts.
Oh, I thought it was a lot worse. I thought it was gonna be maggots.
No,
Oh.
no, thank God, no.
Oh, all right. Go ahead. I'm listening. So what
That's
the
it.
hell?
That's it. I had just been eating unknowingly little ants that had gotten into my peanut can, and it's now known as the peanut incident of 1997.
I got so like excited thinking it's gonna be a great story. That story fucking sucked.
Was that a womp womp?
That's a womp womp. I'm thinking like, okay, something was moving, and then
I mean, I
I
think
don't
that's a
know. There
pretty.
was
I don't think
something that.
people were like that happy about eating ants. I mean, I literally was just high munchies and just eating these peanuts, and it took me so long to realize that it was full of ants. I mean, I'm not talking about like a couple. I'm
Okay.
talking like a
Okay.
lot of those little tiny ants.
Okay. I get it. So
It was a
that would be a little
lot.
gross. So what
And they were
happened
at
after?
that point were crawling up my hand and almost to like the mid part of my forearm before I even realized what was happening. That's so
You,
terrible.
you see, guys, don't go smoking weed
Yeah.
because this will happen to you.
Just say no.
You'll
Just say
just
no.
you'll just reach inside a peanut jar, and next thing you know, you're eating ants.
There you go. Well, since we're talking about food,
The more you know.
yeah, the more you know. Well, since we're talking about food, I think let's share some recipes for our listeners.
All right, me or you first? I got a good one.
You go.
All right, fine. All right, guys. So for you folks that are just getting into the weed and you're not ready to quite
The
start,
weed.
smoking the devil's lettuce, not ready to start smoking it, but you kind of want to see what it's all about, or you just want to see what's going on. You want to ease into it. You can actually make a marijuana infused simple syrup to put in drinks. So if you've ever made simple syrup, it's pretty much the same thing with one little additive. So it's one recipe I have right here is 3 cups filtered water, 3 cups fine granulated sugar. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you do one cup, and then it's 1 cup. All right. Or this recipe says 3. Then it's 2 tablespoons of vegetable glycerin or propylene glycol. It's available at your local health food store. And 2 grams of high grade cannabis. It's finely chopped. And all you have to really do is put all this stuff together, boil it for 20 minutes, just strain it. And that amount will make 12 drinks with a good amount of THC. That's the part that gets you high.
That's a psychoactive.
Yeah, it's the psychoactive part. So you will get high. It's not going to be like the body stuff. It's the in the couch. So
Well,
the
THC is THC.
yeah.
We're not talking about strains or terpenes, just THC versus CBD. THC is the one that has the psychoactive properties to it, whereas CBD has the other properties to it, but will not get you high. It does not have any psychoactive properties.
Yeah, it'll help you if you need a bacchiotomy. It'll make your back feel better.
Yeah.
So you do that, and one of my favorite drinks is old fashioned. So I'm gonna call this drink an old fashioned speedball because if you use
Okay.
well, if you use indica, you get I don't know, you can get that, and then I don't know, it'll get you high and it'll be all over the place. So you
All
can
right.
you can do the old fashioned, and all you have to do for the simple syrup piece, you can put that in there, and it's infused with the bourbon, with the ice, and then you can put, depending on who you are, the orange or the cherry or both,
Mm.
and with bitters, and then you have yourself a little drink. So if you want to kind of get in that and then get a little high later, then you can get into that. So that's my recipe. I taught you how to make simple syrup, and then I taught you how to make an old fashioned, but the interwebs will tell you pretty much anything else you need to know.
Yeah, what's cool about cooking with cannabis is that you have the choice to pick the strain and the terpenes in your strain to get whatever effect you're looking for. So if you do want something that's more of an upper, you get something with pinene and all that, more of a sativa that you would say. That's the really cool part about cooking with cannabis on your own. And I'm curious, did your recipe call to decarboxylate the cannabis?
Nope, that's it. You boil it, you
Interesting.
strain it, and that's it. I
Very
mean, it's not. I mean,
interesting.
you can either get as complicated you want, or you can get as simple as you want. I mean, you could legit just take a dime bag of weed and eat it, and you'll still get high.
You
So
could, but if you're cooking and you want to get the most out of your flour, you definitely want to decarb it, meaning like decarboxylation.
or you just boil it with the
No.
sugar, and
Well, I'm
then you
saying
drink it and get high.
decarboxylation is the process of converting cannabis into its active form, which makes it bioavailable for the human body. So that means that if you decarb it, you're going to have more of the psychoactive properties, more of the stuff that has all those effects versus just tossing it in there. You know what I mean? It's more of like you're like wasting the weed, so to speak, if you don't decarb it in advance.
I got you.
So that's a tip. And what's cool is that there actually is a device now that you can buy from a website called ardentcannabis.com. And it's a little thing that does the decarboxylation for you. And I was looking at all this, and it kind of reminds me of an Instant Pot because it has like the main piece and then a bunch of other little accessory pieces to it. So it's kind of like the Instant Pot for pot, but for decarboxylation. It's
I see
pretty.
what you did there.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but it will run you for the whole thing about $400. But if you're really into this, into
Oh
making
hell no.
edibles, into cooking with cannabis, it's a great investment because if you just try to decarb your stuff on your own in your oven or whatever, like there's so much room for error. You could really screw up your flour real quick. So with all that said, I also I didn't really come up with one specific recipe. I just want to encourage everybody, if you do want to cook with cannabis, to find yourself a really good can of butter recipe and then just put the can of butter in stuff. You can make it with actual butter or you can make it with coconut oil, and you could put it in your coffee, in your tea, you can put it in your baked goods, you can put it when you're sauteing your vegetables, like whatever. Like that can go on every and anything you can imagine.
That sounds good.
Right.
You
Yeah,
can do
that's
you can do can of butter with like oregano and stuff like that. You can
Yep.
put them in a
Yep.
pasta or something
Yep.
like that. You can do
You can make special can of butter that doesn't have any seasoning, like no herbs and spices, or you can
yeah.
do like what you said, have one that's got like red pepper flakes and,
hmm Some
all that
rosemary or something like that. Put on
garlic.
top of fish or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Really
Get you
delicious.
high, man.
Yes, yes. Bong Appetite.
So yeah, those are the really easy ones. If you want to get into the stuff, you can if you want to partake, guys, you can do some of these simple things. Again,
Oh,
I haven't tested this recipe, but
actually, I just thought of another one that's really, really, really simple, and I've never actually done it, but I heard about it. So proceed with caution with this one. It's called a firecracker, and you basically take graham crackers, spread peanut butter on the graham crackers, sprinkle your flour on top of the peanut butter, and then put another cracker on top of that, wrap it in tinfoil, and then bake it. And that is supposed to then produce a nice edible treat that will get you high. And you can think about that. You could do it in any way you want, but the peanut butter's there that has that fat that makes you high.
it sounds like a mess to
Well,
me. Honestly, it sounds messy.
supposedly it's really easy, and I don't know. It's easier than people. It's easy for the people who don't like to bake or think that trying to make can of butter is too daunting. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah,
You can
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
take the graham crackers, slap on the peanut butter, sprinkle your decarbed flour on there,
Yeah.
slap another graham cracker on top, and then bake that. And
Huh.
then you have a treat. Easy
Sounds
peasy.
messy. Still sounds messy, but it's probably delicious though. Quite honestly,
Probably.
you make like little s'mores out of that thing too,
Exactly.
with some chocolate
Turn it
in
into a
there,
s'more.
and then, yeah,
Yep.
do all that with some chocolate and
Marshmallow and
yeah,
anything in there. I mean, your imagination can go wherever it wants with that.
because the flavor is not. It's gonna be there, but it's more about extracting the right kind of materials that gives you the effects that you're looking for. And so if you put it inside food, it'll get you easing into the marijuana space a little bit easier than you smoking it.
Well, yeah, and I'll have one more story to tell before we get out of here. Back
All
in the
right.
day, probably 2000 or something. I had a little party at my place at the time, and I made a big old batch of brownies for everybody.
Okay.
Apparently, I did a really good job making the brownies because I ate like half of one and passed out and woke up like 2 days later. It was
2 days
too much.
later.
Too much, man. Too much.
2 days later, man, you lost days of your life.
I lost the whole weekend. This party was like on a Friday. I woke up on a Sunday. Yeah, it was.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Woke up
That's
2
crazy.
days
Woke
later.
up 2 days
Too
later,
much.
like, wait a minute, what happened? Okay.
Yeah. I
All
was
right,
like,
Monday's
oh,
here.
man.
Time to go to work.
Yeah. It was not good.
There goes that weekend.
It's like, damn it, what happened?
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh.
All right, you potheads or maybe non-potheads, we're about to get up out of here. Colleen, do your thing, baby.
So thank you guys so much for listening and spending time with us today. Please don't forget to subscribe to our show so you don't miss out on any future episodes. If you have a question, comment, or episode idea, or if you just want to drop us a line to say hello, you can reach us on Facebook and Instagram at Air Candy Podcast or send an email to aircandypodcast@gmail.com. So hit us up because we want to connect with you. And until next time, peace.
That was actually the first time we actually said peace at the same time. Yeah, loosey goosey. I can't shake my titties out here. All right,
I don't
I'm
have any
loose now.
titties to shake anymore.
Yeah,
Chopped
me
them off
either.
when I was 20.
Yeah, I chopped mine off last week. Appreciate you, Chief.
Preach, Chief. And if you're feeling generous, please consider supporting the show on buymeacoffee.com. Dang it.
What's so funny about that? Oh, I thought we just keep rolling with it. I said, what's so funny about that?
Because my words were like...
We're trying to get that guap, bitch. We trying to get that guap. Yeah, guap.
What the
This
fuck
all
is
my
that?
hating hoes that see me getting guap right now. See me getting guap right now. See me getting guap right now. This all my hating hoes that see me getting guap right now. You don't even know. That's
don't.
That's Big Sean.
Oh,
Gotta
boy.
get that guap. Man, girl, you gotta keep up. Out here
Well,
being
you know-
old. This is a 420 episode.
So?
420.
Good job, Wiener.
You're right. Yeah. Good job, Wiener. Good job, Wiener.